Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Con, there was a moment and I was reading, it was like an Inc. magazine or Fast Company, and it was actually like an ad for like the New York Convention Center.
Right.
And it was kind of interesting, and it said like literally, no one came here to play small.
Yes.
And I, you know, when you see like a really good advertising line, but it taps into like an emotion and a feeling about, you know, what you want to do and where you want to become.
Yes.
And I just think that like, you know, like you create your own destiny, like that style of conversation. And like, if you put yourself in the right environments, then success is naturally going to be there, because you're going to pick up on the behaviors, you're going to pick up on the structure, you're going to pick up on the discipline. And I was just in this position that I always wanted to go and do that. And I just thought about like, you know, if I give advice now to me starting back when I first started in my career, what are some of the things that I would have said? And, you know, how do you actually really take off in your career? And I just think about, you know, the environment for success and is a really interesting thing. And I was very, very lucky in that, you know, I beautiful parents, and I got the chance to be able to watch my dad who would read and would study and you could actively see him listening to the, you know, the key motivational speakers of the era that were very evangelical back then, back in the cassette era. And like, how important is it to get yourself into an environment where you're pushed a little bit, where you're pulled a little bit, where you're stretched a little bit in a good way?
I reckon it's more important today than what it's ever been. We've got access to so much information. You know, AI, you can go on to, you know, your digital website, you can go to YouTube, social, conferences. There's so much. But the reality is that what you want to be able to do is see how you can put that into actual play. So environment is critically important.
Yeah. And, you know, the interesting thing, Martin Cooper, you know, phenomenal estate agent over in New Zealand, and he was showing me a video clip that he was watching recently about, you know, one of the challenges with the new world of like everything that's turned up in these large language models is that people are now in a position that they're not stretching, they're not thinking, and they put it in and it gives them an answer.
So we're creating robots.
And they think it must be good, but the problem is that like most of the big breakthroughs that change how you operate as a person comes through the struggle.
100%, Josh.
I don't know how to do it. I'm going to seek advice. I mean, what do you think I should do here? Rumour, what do you think I should do here? Joel, what do you think I should do here? And learning how to like problem solve. Whereas now they're just placated with this answer and copy paste and think that that's going to be it. And I just think that in terms of the environmental impact, if you don't put yourself through a bit of pressure, or you don't put yourself into a bit of like challenge, then how do you actually ever build the muscle to learn how to be great when adversity strikes?
And I think that's really important too, because you hit on that like brilliantly.
Yeah.
What we're doing is if we're all kind of using the same language and we all repeating and listening and learning from the same book, then all you're going to have is no differentiator.
Yes.
The thing is about environment is that's what gives you exposure.
Yes.
Exposure to the good, exposure to the bad, exposure to deal flow, exposure to what works, what doesn't work, and you're kind of avoiding all the potholes that other people have driven over. So if you can't get environment right, then I don't think in terms of getting your ability to take off in your career, I think it makes it incrementally harder, particularly today.
Have you ever had those moments where someone rings you or you're about to ring someone and the heart rate just starts to accelerate before that's happening?
In a good way or a bad way?
In a good way.
Well, it's every time you call me, my friend.
but like knowing that you've got to kind of stand to attention, or the best version of you's got to be.
Yeah, one of my mentors, 100%. This guy, you know, Cameron, he doesn't let me off in a positive way.
Yes.
He's there to push me in a positive way, in a safe way, to be able to stretch my thinking. The problem that we don't have right now, mate, is people aren't thinking.
Yeah, sure.
They're actually not taking the time to think about, hey, what do I... They would rather look for the quick answer, whether it's, you know, ChatGPT or kind of bypass the process. You said it. The process of actually having to endure, having to go through. We're seeing that now in a shifting market. Yeah. You know, I spoke to really interesting, an auctioneer that doesn't auction for us said to me that he's down 70% on his bookings in his market. And that was really interesting because what it demonstrated to me is that those agents weren't trained properly for process.
Yes.
They were trained for the market conditions.
Yes.
If you want to have an excellent career in this industry, you've got to be market proof.
Yeah,
right?
market ready.
Yeah.
And I kind of like this is the power of the right mentors, right? Because, and I think about it, like you think about all the different areas of your life and we set goals around it. So there might be health ones. So there might be some stuff about lifting weights or going for a run or eating well, or there might be some relationship goals like being a good mum or a great dad or being great to your partner. There might be some conversations around, hey, travel and adventure and creativity and what I want to do in community and how I want to become a great musician or what I want to do to become phenomenal at that particular skill. And you can actually have a mentor in each of those areas.
I do.
And so I think about that.
Absolutely do.
Like who's your mentor for lifting, for leg day?
Yeah, we don't do leg day, mate. It's International Chest Day every day. No, but you're right. You're absolutely right. The power of mentors, coaches, trainers, whatever you want to call them, is, and you know what? I'm 46, right? I've just realised this now. I know, guys, I don't look like that. He's looking at me funny, but
wow.
I know, thanks. It's Botox.
Yes.
But I've just learnt this in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
If I want to, like, for example, if I want to be in the best peak physical shape of my life, I need a coach.
Yes.
If I want to be the best mental shape of my life, I need a coach.
Yeah.
If I'm learning how to play golf, I've got a coach.
Yeah,
I know, it's ridiculous.
But I love the power of mentors too, because like a coach coaches you around a very specific thing.
Yes.
A mentor, and one of my very early mentors said to me, hey, I'm not going to be your mentor, I'm going to be your tormentor.
Yes.
So this is not going to be easy.
I like that. Yeah.
And I'm never going to give you the answer.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a series of questions for you to come up with your own solution.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. It's like literally, and you know, we got to see Wayne Bennett at your organisation speak in that whole conversation around can you be better? And I think that this is interesting because if you want to really take off inside of your career, you've got to get the strategy right.
I agree.
Now, my argument is that we have seen people that have worked at other organisations that have struggled to bring a deal or a transaction together.
Yep.
They've come across into your business.
Yep.
They've worked for a key salesperson.
Yes.
And their careers have taken off.
Yes.
And that's like they've got exposure to customer base. They got exposure to training. They got exposure to what to do in transactions.
Environment.
And they got around the right people where the behaviors were really consistent. And I think it would about that getting the strategy right is like absolutely everything about how do I learn my area knowledge, my market knowledge, and my transactional knowledge and get my brand knowledge right. So then I can pitch in that listing lounge room and really build that level of skill and confidence.
Yes.
And if I think like, the moments where my career took off, without a doubt, with Phil Harris, where both Phil and I sat down and we learned our listing presentations together, and there was no one external to that. It was just us sending each other recordings and how we could get better. Like that was like an eye-opening moment. And if you then really think that like there are so many benefits about actually being in a team and getting that volume underneath you, why do you think so many people just think, I'll go it on my own, or I can't wait to get out of a team, rather than being in a team for a decade and really building skill, knowledge, and experience? I
think it's a really interesting question and a point. I think people are trying to shortcut the process.
Yeah.
I think, in the age of comparison, people are comparing themselves maybe to their lead agent or to someone else in their office, and they're looking at their journey. And, it was really interesting. I heard Michael Coombs years ago, I'm talking over a decade ago, when he was at McGrath, and he was getting some success, some really good success, and he's a phenomenal agent. And someone asked him a question, and he said, my overnight success story is 12 years in the making.
Yes.
I think people are just too quick. They want what they perceive as success on the other side. But the reality is, and I say this word and I say it with love, you have to endure.
Yes.
Endure doesn't mean you have to have pain.
Yeah.
But you have to endure. You have to go through market cycles. You've got to go through the experience of being able to see what works, what doesn't for those conditions on that day in that environment. And I think people just don't want to have patience to do it, Josh.
I kind of love that whole idea of like relish in the mundane.
Yes.
So I know that sounds funny, but I got 20 open home callbacks.
Oh my God, how great.
But at call number 2, I've already found the buyer.
Yeah.
Do I ring the other 18?
Yes, you do.
Because they could be sellers, they might be neighbours.
Well, they could be a better offer, whatever.
And so that's the problem, is that like literally, this is mundane and this is tiring, this is exhausting, as opposed to, it's a part of actually becoming really good at what you do, is doing the basics really well.
Well, Josh, we get exposure, in my business and obviously with other agents, phenomenal agents across the country. What's the one thing when people go, that guy, or that girl, what makes them so good? They've mastered the mundane.
Yeah.
They get it. That they
do it with more energy and more passion than anyone else.
Because this is a long game.
Yeah, sure.
It's all about longevity.
Yeah.
Right?
Have you ever met anyone who lists more than they appraise?
No, I have not. I just had to think about that for a second going, who are they? Tell me.
And so therefore you've got to do lots of appraisals.
And in this market right now, I keep talking about this market. We're in New South Wales. Market shifted a bit, obviously, probably somewhere along the east coast of Australia. I know Brisbane's starting to feel it. I was speaking to Damien Hackett and Paul Curtin the other day from Place. But
same in Western Australia, right?
Same in okay, cool.
And New Zealand.
So in this market, you need volume.
Yeah.
Volume of calls, volume of connects, volumes of face-to-face meetings, whether it's a vendor. What are you doing? Are you prospecting buyers or sellers or both? Like, this is a volume play right now. So, yes, you absolutely need to have that exposure.
How long did it take before you decided that you were going to commit to real estate as the career or as the life path?
When I made the decision 14 years ago.
So day one?
Day one.
Yeah.
I've been a kind of push all my chips in and run with it. And I fell in love with it before as an observer, as someone who's actually, a provider to the service, a service provider, I should say, to the industry. And what I fell in love with it was the immaturity of our industry.
Yes.
Which is still prevalent today.
Yeah.
This is a process, guys, and girls. When I say guys, I'm saying, for everyone, this is a process.
Yeah.
Fall in love with the process.
I know it sounds funny. I didn't know there was any other option.
Well, not with you, because your dad particularly. But
it wasn't like once I got into real estate, I was like, this is good. I can do that. And
you know what? You didn't have a plan B?
Yeah. And I just thought, okay, great. I can do an open, and now I know how to get an offer. And geez, I'm always learning. And now I'm doing this thing called an auction, and now I've sold one, and now I've passed one in, and now I've sold another one. And
this is the difference. And my observation to you as a friend, and Damien Hackett says it very well. You have a learn it all attitude, not a know it all attitude. So I think the people that lean into going, hang on a second, where are my skill gaps? How do I get better? What do I need to really improve? And, the thing is that I see particularly with a lot of, young agents, when I say young agents, young in terms of their experience, I want to learn how to list. No. Time out. Let's work about how you can learn how to prospect, and let's see how you can work with a buyer, and listing will come. Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
Con, this was amazing. Like, we were in the agency and we were starting out, and there was the point that SMS had just come out. And I went to Dad and I said, mate, what I'd love to do is I want to get SMS inside of the CRM.
Right.
But we need to go and buy some credits to be able to send SMS. And Dad was like, no. And I was like, what?
Sounds like Brian.
I said to him, what do you mean? He goes, well, mate, I'm going to tell you this. You can have anything in life you want as long as it's your own money.
Oh.
And then you know what I did? I went and got my credit card out and I bought my own SMS credits. And then I sent my first bulk SMS and I got a listing and I made a sale. He's like, how'd you do that? I said, you can have whatever you want, but it's your own money. But can I tell you what? That has been an awesome lesson.
That's a great lesson.
Taught. Literally don't wait for someone else.
Yeah.
Be in a position that put your own money behind it. What I often find is that literally those that pay for their own training tend to write 10 times the level of notes.
Yeah, that's true.
Than those that are given the training.
Yeah, it's true. One thing that's, kind of rapidly shaping my thinking at the moment is, when we've got these periods in the year, we're coming up to the end of the financial year. We run on a financial year calendar, so we do a lot of business review and forecasting and budgeting and planning and whatnot for the year ahead. When was the last time, though, and by the other one is at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time that people took like a mid-quarter or mid-term review on themselves?
Yes.
So, and it's got me thinking, because I said to our team this morning at our team meeting, if you're still listing, prospecting, negotiating, managing vendors and campaigns like you were 30 days ago, you're out of date.
Sure, but like Formula One's amazing, right? Because they look lap by lap. And race by race.
Great analogy.
So the review is consistent.
Correct.
I'm sure that if you're the Sydney Swans in the AFL, you look at every match and how do we go and where the opportunities are.
But we don't do that. So I list the same way that I was last year. The market's changed.
But the dynamics change all the time.
Exactly.
And the number of people that go to me, oh my goodness, there could be changes to capital gains tax or negative gearing or whatever the story is. Mate, it's fog.
Yeah.
One thing that's really changed my view is I kind of love that. Like, what's the role that this person's playing in the team? Who is that person who's inside of that role, and how good are they at playing that role? And I kind of love this. It's like, Josh, should my husband or wife be in my team? I'm like, I don't know. Do you want a holiday with your husband or wife? Well, no, I do. Well, then it's probably hard for them to be in your team if they're the only team member, because the whole team goes on holidays.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for growth and for de-risking and to allow someone else to be able to do an open home whilst you're away, then that's probably not going to be the case. Oh, my husband and wife is in my team, but they don't like making calls, but they're the chief prospector.
Right.
Well, that's a problem because that job role actually makes a lot of calls.
Yeah.
So how important is it for people to get right fit, right person, right role?
Yeah, critically important. I mean, in every part of your business, whether you got an EBU or running an office or you're a department head, absolutely. It's about making sure you got, this is, I think a lot of people build a JD, job description, around the individual. What's the role that you're actually trying to fill? What's the game you're trying to win? What are the capabilities that must be there? And then how do you measure those? How do you keep them on track? It's pretty simple stuff.